So let's move on to some reviews and some of the things that we've been looking at. I'll go first with the TV just because it is up on the site. So this is the Hisense U7H. I looked at the 65-inch version of this a number of weeks ago now, and it went up live on Monday. We've had a whole rush of TVs. Like I say, there's been lots of delays in terms of samples coming through, and they all turned up like buses all at the same time. So this has taken a little while to get published, but it is the official TV of the World Cup. Obviously, Hisense are a big sponsor of football. They sponsor Leeds United in the UK, their stadium and stuff like that's all branded Hisense, and lots of the major competitions, World Cups and Euros, have been sponsored by Hisense. Great way of getting your brand out there. In terms of TVs, we spoke about the U8H a couple of podcasts back, and it was a little bit disappointing. It looked great on paper, whereas the reality wasn't quite as sparkling as it looked in terms of specs and so on. When we got down to actually testing it and looking through it, it was a little bit mixed. I have to say the U7H is a better TV because it's not a mini LED. It's still a local dimming, full array local dimming system that's being used here. 90 zones in total. It's just a little bit more subtle. It's done a little bit better. There's not as many issues with blooming and clouding and screen uniformity issues. They are still there because it's a throwback of LCD technology, and it's one of these things that you can't get away from. You're going to introduce it in some form or another, and it's not a TV I would recommend for critical movie watching in a dim room. If you want that kind of thing, go find an OLED or a bit of a better spec LED LCD. This is not particularly bright with HDR, measured in at 600 nits full screen. 600 nits on a 10% window is 500 full screen. But again, it does the thing where it dims down the smallest areas of the screen, which is where you want the brightest area. When you're talking about HDR, so 1%, 2%, 5% windows, it dims them right down, and it does that to try and stop blooming, because if you have a zone with that kind of brightness next to a black or a dim background, you're going to get a lot of halo bloom all around that object, and it's why TVs have blooming suppression in them, like this Hisense. So it kind of takes away from the dynamic range, which is lacking anyway, because it only does 600 nits, and black's measured in at 0.04, which is quite high black for, actually. So it really needs to be viewed in a room with good ambient lighting, so a living room or a kitchen or a bedroom. Used in those circumstances with the VA panel, you need to be watching it dead on. So don't sit higher than the TV, don't sit lower than the TV, and don't go 30 degrees or over to the sides, otherwise you will get gamma and color washout on the screen. You need to be watching bang on. Another thing, watching off axis, is blooming becomes more apparent around objects and so on, and even in bright scenes, if you're watching off to the sides, because of the gamma drop off, you will see the actual zones, the actual blocks of light lighting up and so on. So if you can avoid all of that, use this in a bright room, a living room, kitchen, whatever, as a second TV or as a gaming TV. It's got two HDMI 2.1 inputs at 48 gigabits per second, so full bandwidth there. There's only two of them. One is also your EARC, so if you want an EARC device, you're going to lose one of your HDMI 2.1 inputs, but everybody's in the same boat this year. Hopefully the new MediaTek chips coming next year do open that up to 4 HDMI 2.1 for those manufacturers using that silicon on chip. But this is last year, so you're restricted to the 2. But yeah, it's a very reasonable TV. I scored it as a 7. If you're looking for a second screen TV, something for gaming on that you're not particularly that worried about, it has got filmmaker mode. It was okay out of the box. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than the vivid and the natural modes, which look too blue and pump the colors too much. Nice remote control, nicely designed. It is plastic. It's made to a price point, but it looks good on a TV stand. The only really disappointing thing was the audio system was really, really rubbish. It just didn't sound good at all. They'd taken the subwoofer out of the back, which was on the U8. This one didn't have the sub. It was an empty enclosure. So it didn't sound great. So if you're going to get one of these and you want to use it and have good sound, I would recommend a soundbar of some description. to go with it. But if you want any more information on that TV, a deep dive into it a little bit more, have a look at the graphs and so on, then the review is live on the homepage at the moment. And again, it's not a badly priced TV either. I think I tested it. SRP was £849 for the 65-inch. I believe you could probably pick that up for about $650 to $750 if you shop around online.
Ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, for a 65-inch TV, that's where you're getting the value. So yeah, I mean, if none of those negatives are an issue for you that I've pointed out, and you're not somebody who wants to sit and look at films in a dim room, it's a perfectly reasonable TV, perfectly reasonable in terms of accuracy if that you want that kind of thing as well. And HDR wasn't too bad. In fact, the color volume and the color saturation was very good for wide color. It wasn't too far away. 94% XY, 97% UV of the DCI P3 color space. So it did pretty well at that. So yeah, mixed bag. But if you're looking for a second TV, like I say, put that on your options list and have a look.